Well, when we first had all the information that we got from the first night, we had, the young men driving down the road shooting at least 10 shots. The solicitor's office called and said we don't think we can convict them of attempted murder. So we decided, because we did our investigation, and to err on the side of what's right, we wanted to make sure that these young men didn't sit in jail for 6 or 8 months until the trial came around. So we dropped the charges down to breach of peace, high and aggravated nature, which is right. I got some people that are very confused, thinking that I owe them an apology. Well, I didn't say anything that I need to apologize for, because it's very irresponsible to shoot out of a car window in a moving car, or in a parked car for that matter, out in the public like that, just because they want to do that. Given the fact that the 2 LA officers had just been ambushed and some other things that was going on around the country, our deputies had every right to feel the way they felt. So after we got through doing our investigation, we chose to do what is right. And I knew this was coming. I knew that there was going to be some people, yelling and kicking and screaming about this, that, and the other. Y'all just, I've had comments like, you just charged these 2 men for no reason. Well, that couldn't be furthest from the truth. We had every reason to charge them with what we charged them with. Our evidence didn't lead up to show us that we could sustain that in court. And again, let me repeat, instead of letting it sit there for 6 to 9 months waiting for them to get to court and let it wash itself out in court, we chose to do the right thing, so they're home with their family now, kind of thinking about what they did. And by the way, they did admit to shooting. They said that it was, they didn't know the officers were over there. Of course, that's what I would have said too. But I can't prove any otherwise, and I didn't let them sit over in jail for 6 to 9 months, so we had mercy on them like we're supposed to, err on the side of caution. And I'm going to tell you this. I made a comment the other day when we did our interview, and I stand behind it. Jesus Christ is the only way that we're going to get rid of all this mess. Now, I've had people question, and they say, you think you're God? And I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to that stupidity. I don't think I'm God at all. I'm just doing what the Holy Bible tells me to do, is show mercy and do the right things. So, to this small group that's running their mouth, I either make a charge and they don't like it, and I find out that the right thing needs to be done and do it, and they still don't like it. So, I guess they're not going to like it. But the other people that I'm working for here are the ones that got common sense. I bet you if you go talk to those young men, they're probably happy that we saw, that the evidence would let us reduce the charges and they're out free on bond instead of sitting in our detention facility. I guarantee you they'll feel that way.
Is there anything you want to say to those 2? They're pretty young. One's 22, one's
yeah,
23.
That is a dumb thing you did. I mean, do I believe that they were just in that general area shooting just up in the air and had no idea the deputies were there? I'm not sure I buy that. But I can't prove it, so I have to give them the benefit of the doubt, which is exactly what we did. That was very irresponsible.
You were telling me earlier over the phone, Sheriff, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
But you said, they could have shot anyone. Shooting up
yes.
there, if it wasn't a deputy, it could have been a child or...
Could have been anybody. Anybody that was sitting where those deputies were would have thought the exact same thing those deputies thought. And I'm going to reiterate again, I was very proud of the way the actions of our deputies. They handled this very professionally. And I learned, too, that I made a comment that we had a right to kill those men, and for some reason that infuriated people. Well, by law, we did. We had a right to return fire because those deputies thought they were being fired on. And they didn't, because they're professionals. And my whole point to that was, I've heard professional athletes say stuff like, black men are being hunted every day by law enforcement, and that's just not it. That's just not the way it is. We had every right by law and by anybody's standards to fire back, and we didn't do that. So I'm very proud of the way our deputies handled this.
And Sheriff, you mentioned the LA officers, but also just, not far away at all, Henderson County. Maybe everyone is kind of on high alert anyway because of what just happened nearby. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to back up and tell you that Kevin Carper was my friend, and he was one of our deputies, and he was killed by a young man that had been arrested 41 times before he ever met Kevin that night. So this would have been his 42nd arrest. So I go out, I've been called out of my home, I get dressed, and I have to go see one of my friends and an officer that is dead. And the other guy, who is an African American gentleman, they're giving life-saving measures to try to keep him alive. And he just killed our friend and an officer. So I'm not the guy you want to talk to about officers are bad, because I don't see us that way. Do we have trouble? Yes, we all have trouble. But I'm these folks that are picking everything that comes out of my mouth, I'm not paying you any attention anymore. I don't care what you say, what you do. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do it by because God makes me do it what's right, because that's who I believe in.
And you feel that reducing these charges was the right move, but you don't feel like you owe anyone an apology?
I don't feel like I owe anybody any apology for what I said with the evidence that I had shown there. No matter what you say, see, people are thinking that we just arrested 2 African-American males for no reason. That's not the case at all. They admitted to us that they were shooting in a moving vehicle. They even admitted they were smoking, one of them was smoking marijuana. So, I mean, come on. What am I supposed to do? Just say, well, they're misguided, let's let them alone? We don't work that way. No matter what neighborhood you're in, you go by and shoot, we're going to try to put you in jail and hold you accountable for that.
Do you hope that this kind of opened their eyes and maybe nothing like this happens again?
Absolutely. I'm tickled to death that their mama and their family are getting to see them tonight instead of having to go to a funeral home and visiting them, because you don't never know what. There's a lot of CWP holders out here. That could have been in a neighborhood where somebody would have thought they were being shot at and returned fire and killed them. I mean, it could have been awful. So I'm very thankful and praising the Lord that no one, not just the deputies, but no one got injured. I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anything else?
And kind of speaking along those lines, there have been a lot of officer-involved shootings lately, officers being fired upon, returning fire, things like that. Do you think, that kind of stuff was on your deputies' minds, and maybe that's why they took the restraint that they did take?
I think they took the restraint that they did take because they're professionals and they care about other human beings. We've had plenty of opportunities to fire on people by law and kill them or injure them. When these gentlemen started, here's what my whole point was. The 2 young men that acted like idiots earlier complied with what the officers asked them to do, so there was no reason to go any further than that. It wasn't that they were thinking about what the public outcry was going to be, because the public really has no clue what we go through. A lot of these people that are Facebook ninjas or judges or whatever they want to call themselves, they've never had to go deal with somebody that has a weapon, a knife, a baseball bat, or somebody genuinely trying to kill you. So no, we weren't thinking about public outcry. The situation dictated that they did a felony car stop. The gentlemen complied with every order they did, and they were not harmed. That's my point. If we were bad, then obviously it would have been worse. The outcome would have been a whole lot different. Our guys are great, and we're going to continue to patrol this neighborhood. I'm not going to apologize, because we're going to do it right. I don't understand, to save my life, why it upset people when we reduced the charges. I thought people would be happy that we came out and done the right thing. So I'm going to do the right thing whether you like it or not.
And kind of speaking on that with the public outcry, some people were saying that, they guilty till proven innocent.
I totally agree with that. None of that changes. But in the heat of the moment, when you're getting fired upon with a gun, this is not a shoplifting, And if we wanted to do the, we caught you, we're going to prosecute you, other things would have happened to those young men, don't you think? No, we did the right thing by arresting them and let the evidence show what it needed to show. And when we saw what the evidence showed us, we knew it was the right thing to do, was to just reduce the charges. They didn't get away scot-free. They're going to answer to their absolutely dumb choice that they made. But we didn't drop any charges. We just reduced it to what we know will fit the crime better.
And that's breach of peace of a high and aggravated nature? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And there are some out there that say that, now the public may see them as attempted murderers because
I can't help what the people see them as. And it had nothing to do with my comments. It had everything to do with their actions. You're not going to turn this around on me. This is about their actions. Had they not been shooting out of a vehicle, I wouldn't have had no reason nor right to say anything I said about attempted murder. So we've told these people out there that we can't prove attempted murder, so we reduced the charge. So you can see them as breach of peace. You know, so how people feel about them, you know, I don't want them to think bad of these young men. I'd like for you to pray for them that they'd make better choices, because that choice they made that night could have really cost a lot of people some different things. So
Thank God no one got hurt.
yep, I'm always praising God when nobody gets hurt.